in the house. Teasy drops this one. He says, two things can be true. Purdy is playing nearly perfect football and is good enough to win the Super Bowl, and he's playing with by far the best supporting cast and system in the NFL. Say I'm wrong. Wait, by far the best supporting cast? By far? Eagles have a better O-line. Yeah. Javonte Smith, A.J. Brown, you're telling me Debo and Ayuk are far and away better than Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown? No.
They're close together.
Even if they're better, they're not far better.
Not far and away, yeah.
I mean, Devontae won the Heisman. A.J. Brown's been awesome this year.
Devontae, those two guys are great, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Goddard and Kittle. I mean, I'd rather have Kittle, but Goddard's damn good. Eagles O-line's better than the Niner O-line. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. I hear what you're saying, Teasy. Teasy is basically saying, hey, Brock's playing great, but don't forget he's got a great
absolutely
supporting cast.
Yeah.
But I mean, do we have to even have a refresher course here? The Niners' last Super Bowl win was Steve Young. It was 1994. I was 24 years old. His running back was Ricky Waters. His fullback was bar none. His tight end was Brent Jones. His receivers were Jerry Rice and John Taylor. He had a great offensive line. His defense had B.Y., future Hall of Famer, on the front end, and Dion on the back end with Mert and McDonald and Norton and Plummer and Woodall. And I mean, just stacked. Yeah. So that was the last Niner team. The last Joe Montana team, Roger Craig, Tom Rathman, Jerry Rice, Brent Jones, John Taylor, Ronnie Lott, loaded team, both sides of the ball. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying my point is just that I think you're right, Teasy, but it ain't the first time. You know what I mean? And if you look at Mahomes has had Tyreek and Kelsey and Pacheco and Reed. You know, Brady had, Edelman and Gronk and Randy Moss and, a killer Bill Belichick defense. And, so I don't know. Nobody's really doing this all by themselves.
To make it to the Super Bowl, you got to be. I mean, good teams win the Super Bowl, not bad teams don't make the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So you have to have guys that's what the whole.
But I hear what he's saying. No,
I hear what you're saying. It just baffles me when people are, Barty has a good team around him. Like, that's the goal of an NFL team, of any sports franchise, is to put together a good team. Like, of course he's going to play good because he has good players around him. But Brock is doing good when those players are not always there. So I digress. But Brock Purdy's getting too much hate.
They didn't look too good without Brock in the when he went out in the NFC Championship game. Couldn't get plays called on time. Couldn't get a first down. Yeah. I'm not putting it all on poor Josh Johnson, but still. Hicks says Brock is leading in almost all categories regarding quarterback stats. Do you think Brock can win the MVP, or is that award more about popularity? That's a great question. What do you think, Raj? I'll throw that one to you. Can Brock Purdy win the MVP?
He should be in the discussion, and I think he could, but the problem is the NFL is not going to give it to him because he hasn't proven anything. He hasn't won any big games, in there. Like we talked about earlier, how the media is kind of just unfairly scrutinizing Brock because he is the last pick of the draft. They're going to say all the things that we just talked about, how, he has a cast. Well, he has this great defense. He has Kyle Shanahan calling his plays. He has Trent Williams. He has this and that. I think that's going to work against him in an MVP vote for whatever reason, because the media is against it. But he should be in the MVP, category. You know what I mean? Because look, we just talked about all his stats earlier. Number one in pretty much every statistical category. The guy is unbelievable. I mean, perfect passer rating this last week. He's setting records for the 49ers. He's on pace to have one of the best seasons in 49er quarterback history. There's been some great quarterbacks on this team. You mentioned them. Joe Montana, Steve Young, right? Jeff Garcia was the last time they even had a Pro Bowl quarterback. He's going to have a better season than him. Like, this is a very good season by a second-year quarterback. It is absolutely amazing what he's been doing overall this season. And
where do you rank him?
I mean,
is he a top 10 guy?
He is a top 10 to me, because if you
is he better? He's having a better year than Josh Allen? Is he better than Josh Allen?
And we need to have that conversation. Just because Josh Allen is Josh Allen, the media go, oh, God, Josh Allen, he's got this robot arm. He's good, but he leads the NFL in interceptions. I got to tell you, man, Brock Purdy is so safe. He's playing better than him, bar none. You look at the stats, you look at the film, he's playing better. And the thing of this, if you're the MVP, you have to say this. If you take this man away from that team, would they be winning the games? Absolutely not. We just said in the Philadelphia game, NFC Championship, Larry, you didn't have Brock Purdy and the game was a loss. You take away Brock Purdy from this roster and you put Sam Darnold at quarterback, 49ers are not 7-3.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. I mean, and that's why nobody's calling for Sam Darnold, by the way.
Yeah.
But I mean, if people's the counter, Raj, is, hey, if you put Josh Allen on the Niners, he'd do great. Right?
Would he though?
I said the other day that I'd rather have Purdy than Herbert, and you would have thought that I said that. And somebody in the chat here said that I said that I'd rather have Purdy than Joe Montana. I never said that. Come on. I mean, this is not vodka. All right, this is not vodka. Come on. I mean, come on. But Herbert's sub 500. Now, Herbert looks the part. Let's be honest. Herbert looks the part. 6'6", 240, great arm. Who's better?
I mean, on the traits, if I'm looking at these two guys and you just base them on their traits, yeah, you look at Justin Herbert, you're going to take him 9 times out of 10. His coach is terrible.
Right.
But
it's a big part of it.
Where I'm telling you, the argument is, yeah, okay, these guys look better than Purdy. They look, like a quarterback more than Brock Purdy. They have the arm traits. This is why all those guys were drafted higher than Brock Purdy. But Brock Purdy's the guy that's going out there and delivering. And whether it's the system that he's on or the team that's around him, because people are going to say, oh, well, he has all the great supporting cast.
Right, and he does.
It's not like these guys don't have supporting cast, because in the early offseason, everybody was touting up, oh, the Bills are going to be a Super Bowl contender. Right. Oh, Chargers are going to be a Super Bowl contender. So if they're so great, why can't they elevate their team? If they're supposed to be this god of a quarterback, why are they struggling and Brock Purdy's not? Like, Brock Purdy did go through his tough stretch, but look what he did these last 2 weeks. And I got to say, during those games where he lost, like Cleveland, that just hit him like a ton of bricks. But those other 2 games, I mean, he played through a concussion. Like, let's not sugarcoat it here. That might have had an impact. And, the team was behind. He's still learning how to do that. Once he figures that out, I don't think you can stop Brock Purdy, man. This guy, to me, should be in the MVP conversation. Because, again, you take away Brock Purdy from this team, do they win 7 games right now? Are they a 7-win team? Absolutely not, Larry.
I asked Shanahan the other day, I said, were you worried that when Brock was throwing those interceptions, and you obviously don't want to see those interceptions, that he would lose confidence or change the way he plays? And he's like, no, because, in those games that he threw those picks, the film showed that he really looked good in the first part of those games. He had a bad fourth quarter in Minnesota. And as you suggested, it may have been concussion related. Even if it wasn't, it's still a bad quarter. He had completed 85% of his passes in the first 3 quarters of that game. And then as far as the Cincinnati game, those were bad turnovers as well. And you can't make those turnovers. Nobody would apologize for him, but he played great in that Cincinnati game and really kept them in it until that fourth quarter. And then of course turned it over 3 times in the fourth. And that was huge. I mean, those were huge negative plays, and you can't do that. But that was Kyle's point, was like, hey, that's why he kind of pushed back so aggressively when people were like, hey, you're going to change your quarterback. No, I'm not going to change my quarterback because my quarterback's playing great. He's just throwing a couple of ill-timed turnovers. Yeah. But a lot of people thought that those turnovers were like defining. Like, this is who he really is. Like, oh, now the clock struck midnight and now he's turning into a pumpkin. And this is what Brock Purdy really, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that one probably in hindsight was probably a little hyper negative.